What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and today we're going to mourn the review that could have been. It would have been epic. It would have been like Mark Goldbridge levels of rage if this game had ended 2-1. I mean, nobody would have seen it because obviously hardly anybody watches this channel, but man, what an entertaining for the non-Chelsea fan review it would have been had we finished the game 2-1. But as it is, we won 3-2, which I'm happy about. The performance I'm not as happy about. But to be perfectly honest, it's kind of the performance I was expecting coming into this game. I wasn't expecting the win about halfway through, so the fact that we managed to pull it off is promising, and it is a step in the right direction. But talking about the game overall, it's on par for us. We're facing, we've just had two great games in a row. We're facing a lower team who really don't have much to play for anymore after the results. I guess the 10 o'clock results for us, the 3 o'clock results over in England. But after, Burnley loses, Luton loses, that's basically it. Nottingham Forest are almost officially safe. All they have to do is just not get crushed by us today, so Luton don't have a chance of overturning the goal difference. But even then, I mean, let's be honest, Luton are not going to win their last match anyway. They're not winning anything at the moment. So Nottingham Forest really don't have much to play for outside of just pride. And yeah, we still let them run all over us for most of this game. And some of it, again, it's down to we're playing away from home, and we've got a lot of young players that I don't think can live up to that pressure. I think they crumble a bit under the pressure. So after that first goal goes in, I mean, you could tell our passes were not nearly as connective. We were not looking confident on the ball. It was a lot worse after the crowd starts to get going. Nottingham Forest start to get a little bit more confidence behind them. We do not do well in that situation. On top of that, it's also a team that for the past however long, I think it's, when did Sarri come in? I want to say it was 2018, maybe 2019. So at least 4, 5, 6 years, maybe. For the past 6 years, we have not been able to break down deep defensive blocks. It started with Sarri, because Sarri's possession-based game was so pitiful. And for some reason, it's just stuck with the club. Now, not that we've not had this problem in the past. I do remember even before Sarri, before Conte, we had issues like that. But ever since Sarri, it's been consistent every season. We've not had a manager that's come in and fixed that problem. It has consistently been, we cannot break down teams that have a deep defensive block. We can't. Unless they make a mistake, we struggle to pass through it. We struggle to really work the ball in that area, and we struggle to have enough movement to open up spaces. So today was a lot of that. It was a lot of they're sitting deep, they're waiting for us to make a mistake, give them the ball, and then they counter on us. And that's how most of the game went up until the subs came in. So two things working against us today. I was not super confident. And yeah, it was a very frustrating game for the most part because of that. And it could feel my blood boiling as the game went on. And as the longer that it went on and we continued to just give away the ball, not work hard in the final third, not find those passes, keep just knocking it around, trying to be patient instead of maybe just having a shot and seeing what could happen. The more that happened, and the more that Nottingham Forest continued to create dangerous chances off of just simple breaks, it was getting more and more frustrating, because you would think, especially after the first half, you would think Pochettino would make some changes to avoid that happening in the second half. And it didn't really feel like much changed. The flow of the game and everything that came after the second half kicked off was very much the same. However, to give Pochettino his credit, the subs are what changed the game today. Because I will say, up until the subs came on, my mindset about Poch was, this kind of shows he's still not the solution. I still don't think he's the major problem. I especially after the last few games, I do feel like my opinion on him has kind of softened a bit. Because I do feel like the major problem we're having right now is that the players are just inconsistent. With that being said, though, if the manager is not affecting that, if it's just based on the players, how the players perform that day, and not anything to do with the manager's tactics, then he's not really the solution either. He may not be causing the problem. His tactics may not be the problem. But if our results depend on, well, how are the players going to play today? Are they actually going to show up and do their jobs? Or are they going to, mentally check out and not be there? If that's the only thing affecting our performance and how well we play and whether we win or not, then what's the manager even there for? You know, like that's basically you're just there to put players on the field and make subs and that's it, you know? Because the best managers will take a team that are maybe not having their best game and still find a way to tactically set them up to get the job done. And it doesn't feel like Pochettino's really done that whenever we've had our off games. So that's where my mindset was. But again, the subs that he brought on, that's what affected the match. Taking Madueke off for Nkuku, great decision. Taking Badiashile off for Gusto, great decision. Taking off, was it Mudryk? Pretty sure it was Mudryk came off for Sterling. Great decision, turned out. I wasn't sure about it at the time because Sterling has been a little iffy, but no, great decision. And then James coming on for Gallagher. Weird that he came on for Gallagher. I kind of felt like it would have been better to take off Cucurella and slide Gusto to the left, but still, bringing James on, great decision. So those subs did help affect the game. Those subs did start turning the game in our favor. And again, you got Sterling coming on, scoring the goal. You got James coming on and assisting the winner. I mean, those are two game-changing subs right there. So for Pochettino, I mean, he's starting to show we do need to give him more time. We do need to bring in players that he can actually utilize instead of just seeing if he can take a hodgepodge mess and try to make it work. And I still don't think he is one of the best managers in the world. So I still do think, you know, if we want to be challenging for the title, I still think we need to improve in that area. But I think with him in charge, and if we get better players that fit what he's trying to do, I think we could easily make a top 4 challenge next season. You know, I think he's got enough about him. He's got enough knowledge and know-how that if we gave him a team that he could work with, I think top 4 would be reasonable. But that being said, I still don't think we're title challengers under him. I just don't think, I mean, he would need a full team that never gets injured, that is exactly what he wants to play with, and we just don't have that at the moment. We have too many injury-prone players. We have too much of a hodgepodge mess, and he's not capable of taking those players on a bad day and getting a good result. But before we get to individuals, the other thing to mention is I'm really glad we didn't lose today, just because, man, it would have been so annoying to listen to the Nottingham Forest fans after that, because they have been whining and complaining so damn much. So really glad to get the 3 points over them, just to maybe shut them up a little bit. But getting to the individuals, though, obviously first we'll start with Petrovic. Both goals, not really anything he can do for either of them. You know, first one is a deflection off of Gallagher from the header, and the second one is a bent ball to the far corner, which most keepers are not getting to anyway. So it's really hard to blame him for either of those. And honestly, I thought his best strength today was coming up and collecting on corners, because there were several that were put in his area, and he did a good job of getting up and collecting. So good for him to have a solid performance overall. But with that being said, we still need a better keeper next season for sure. On the right side, Chalobah, again, playing out of position, and today was a lot more obvious than it was against West Ham, because he's not really that good at going down the line with a winger and showing them outside like most fullbacks are capable of doing. So that was definitely our weaker side when we were defending today. But he still did okay, and when he switched to center back after Gusto came in, I thought he did a lot better in there and looked a lot more comfortable. So kind of a mixed performance for him today, but I think on the whole of it, he still gives his all. He still tries hard. It's just if he's asked to play out of position, I don't think he's as good at doing it as some other players are. Silva, solid for the most part. You know, still caught out a few times for pace occasionally, but it doesn't happen very often because he's smart enough to know when to step out and when not to. But that lack of fitness, or not fitness, pace, I think is starting to show a little bit, which might be a good time for him to call it in the Premier League and move back to Brazil. So I'm sad he's leaving, but I kind of understand because he is starting to show that age a little bit more. Badiashile was kind of back to his usual self in this one after a couple of decent performances. Yeah, it was just lack of tracking players, getting beat too easily in behind. Defensively, he looked a little weak, so I still don't rate him very highly. And yeah, it was a pretty awful performance from him. And then Cucurella, kind of the same thing. You know, he's had a few decent performances. Today was kind of back to his usual. You know, just flying in challenges, getting there late, getting turned way too easily, giving the ball away too easily as well. It wasn't good enough from either of them on that side. So when you have your center back at right back on one side and you have your two left-sided defenders both playing poorly, it definitely makes sense why we were not that good defensively today and why Forest were so easily able to pick us apart at times. In the midfield, Caicedo and Gallagher again. Caicedo kind of dropped off today. He's been playing really well over the past few games. Today was not one of his better performances. He looked a lot slower today. He had his moments where he showed what he's capable of, but I think whenever we're up against a team that are going to sit deep, it means we're going to have a lot more of the ball. And I think when that's the case, Caicedo's not going to be as effective because he is better whenever it's kind of a back and forth match. He's able to go in and win the ball back and kind of distribute it to somebody who can then move it on quickly. Whereas whenever we have a lot of possession, it means he has to be good on the ball. And I would say maybe 30% of his passes are good. The other 70 are, and then, well, I would say like 60% of them are maybe a little behind, maybe a little overhit. And then the other 10% are just, he suddenly squirts it out of bounds somehow. So overall, it was okay today. It just based on the past few performances, I was expecting a lot more from him. And today was not, it was more what I've seen from him for most of this season. Gallagher, a lot of hard work today, but definitely needed more quality on the ball from him today, which we've seen. But for whatever reason, whether it was just the high intensity of the match, whether it was the high pressure from Forest, he really didn't look that good on the ball today. It felt like he was giving it away a bit too much. Our wings, Madueke, obviously great for him to get a goal, but outside of that, kind of lacked a bit of quality in the final third again, which we've seen from him for a lot of this season. But at the very least, got himself a goal, which is good because that's definitely one area that coming in on his right foot and trying to curl it past the keeper, he rarely does that. So to see him do it is good, but we needed a bit more from him in the build-up play because it felt like there were too many moments where it was just too easy to pick the ball off of him. Then Madueke on the right side, it was back to Madueke because, yeah, he was awful. He was giving the ball away constantly because he was dribbling, trying to take on players whenever there are plenty of better options around him. And it was just when we're playing in a match, whenever we need to hold possession and get it down the field quickly and not give the ball away right back to the other team so they can counter on us again, you don't want a player who's going to hold on to the ball too long. You want a player who's going to move it quickly, pass it around the high press, and get it down the field. Madueke is not that type of player. He's going to try to beat the defender that's putting pressure on him. He's going to try to turn him. And then when another defender shows up, he's going to take him on as well. Meanwhile, three guys have made a great run down the line that he could have easily played to, but he's still taking on that defender because he wants to beat him and he wants to show off. We don't need that today. So no surprise to me that he was the first one yanked off because he had given us basically nothing throughout the match. Palmer in the center, another fairly average performance from him. I mean, he had his moments of quality, obviously great assist on the first goal, but I still feel like, his finishing, we've seen, he has great finishing. He's shown his quality on finishing throughout the season. And yet he has these matches where it feels like he doesn't have a shooting boot on for whatever reason. So I don't know why that is. I don't know why some matches suddenly it feels like he puts it right at the keeper, or he doesn't have enough confidence to have a strike even though it's right on his left foot and perfect for him to hit. I don't know what the cause of that is, but it does feel like there are these games where the confidence is low maybe, or possibly it's just the high press puts him off a little bit. He doesn't have as much time to line up. But even with that being said, he has a free kick right outside the box. All he has to do is just place it in the corner and you've got a decent chance, at least get a corner out of it. But he blasts it right at the wall, and that's not what I expect from him. So, yeah, it was just, for his high standards, it was below average performance for him. But that's not saying he played poorly. It's just, I think the expectations for him are always higher. So if he doesn't quite show what he's capable of, I think we're always a little bit disappointed. At least I am. Maybe other people were super happy with his performance today, but I think he could have given us a bit more. And finally, we've got Jackson. Oh boy. So Madueke was, for me, the worst player on the pitch today. Jackson was a very close second. If he had not scored the winning goal, I think I probably would have rated him the worst player on the pitch because he was absolutely awful today. And it's funny because we're coming off of a game where we beat West Ham 5-0. Madueke showed some unselfishness, giving one of the goals to Jackson when he normally would just have a shot and probably miss. And Jackson showed some quality finishing to put 2 in against West Ham. Coming today, and Madueke's selfishness was on full flow today. Absolutely the most selfish player on the pitch. Jackson, it seemed like he didn't know how to shoot. And not only that, he also gave them the first goal. I mean, his lack of ability to defend a set piece was embarrassing. And it wasn't even like, okay, well, the defender beat him to the ball and that's how he got the goal. No, Jackson just didn't track him and then stopped running. Like, let him go and then turned to watch as he gets a free header at the back post. You can't do that. It doesn't matter what position on the field you play. If you're back defending a set piece, you need to stick to your man. So for him to do that, and then for the next 5 minutes, it was like he didn't know what he was doing anymore. Like, he took on 2 players and couldn't beat them, gave the ball away super easily, and it came right back at us. And then he had a pretty easy chance, I think like 10 minutes later maybe, and puts it right at the keeper again, like he normally does. So I don't know what happened in between the West Ham match and this one, but it was basically like we just got old Jackson back. We got the Jackson that's very frustrating, that doesn't finish. And not even, actually, I won't even say the old Jackson, because that's being unfair to the old Jackson. The old Jackson would at least make good runs in behind. He would get himself in good positions, create good chances, and then not finish. He didn't even really do that today. He didn't even get in good positions. He just didn't seem like he wanted to work at all today. So, very lazy performance from him. And again, thankfully he got that goal, or else I would have absolutely ripped into him, which I still kind of am, to be fair. But I get really frustrated though whenever attacking players don't work hard for the team, because too often it feels like they score a goal and then everybody just ignores the fact that they did nothing else. You know, I remember in the World Cup, the last World Cup, watching Mbappe play and listening to those idiots, John Stewart, I think, and Stuart Holden, like listening to them praise Mbappe, you know, and he's jogging back while Deschamps is trying to get him to run back and defend, and they're like laughing about it. They're like, oh yeah, you know, trying to get him back and defend. But I mean, when you're Mbappe, you know, you're there to score the goals. You don't really need to be there to defend. That's not how the game works. It's a team sport. I mean, Boley probably doesn't understand that either, but I mean, it's a team sport. You got to do both sides of it. It doesn't matter where you play on the field. If you're not working for the team, you don't need to be out there. So, yeah, again, good for Jackson that he did manage to at least find the net. I will say it was more James's cross in that did the work for him, but yeah, it doesn't excuse the fact that the rest of his performance was really, really bad, and he needs to improve quickly. As far as the subs that came on, the first 2, Nkuku and Gusto, ultimately they didn't contribute as much as the next 2 subs that came on, clearly. But I say both of them came on and did their jobs fine. You know, for one, Gusto comes on and he is a more natural right back, which then, of course, pushes Chalobah to play more naturally his position in center. And Nkuku just comes on and he gives a little bit more than Madueke does and is a bit more unselfish. So both of them came on, and I'll say they did affect the game in a positive light. The only issue I remember having with either of them, because Nkuku I thought looked a lot better than he has been. You know, he's had his moments throughout the season where it feels like he's just not quite up to the right fitness to get anything good out of him. But for Gusto, I will say the second goal was partially on him. Also, I don't know if it's going to come through, but apparently somebody's doing some yard work outside. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. But the second goal, it does come from Gusto lets Hudson-Odoi inside way too easily. And for a fullback, you got to know you can't, especially if you know the players that are out there, you know Hudson-Odoi is a right-footed player. You know he's going to cut inside and curl it. I mean, we saw him do it at Chelsea multiple times. So you can't let him inside, and Gusto just let him inside way too easily. So that was the only issue that I would say I had with Gusto today. Everything else I thought he did fine. And again, Nkuku looked a lot more up to the right fitness level today, which was good. But obviously, the 2 to talk about are Sterling and James. Sterling came on looking like he had a point to prove. And he kind of does, to be fair, because he's not really been that good since he's come in. He's had his flash points, but he's not been the same player that we saw at Man City all those years. But he came in and did really well. You know, obviously the goal was fine, but even outside of that, he was looking creative on the ball. Defensively, he was getting back in putting in a challenge to help out. I mean, he was all over that left side of the field, and we needed that today. So really good to see from him, and I hope he can continue on this vein of form, because I really don't think Madueke and Madueke are cutting it for us at the moment. You know, they both have had their instances where they popped up with a good moment for us, but on the whole of it, I think both of them are lacking, and I think Sterling has that quality that we need out there. His performances just haven't been good enough, and then obviously he got injured, so we need him to step back up and give us that option out there again. And then James, I mean, obviously him coming back and assisting almost right away is what we needed from him. You know, we've needed that ability to deliver the ball in from the right side that Gusto occasionally has, but it's not on the same consistency level as James had. There's just so much, he provides it so much more often, and that's really what we've needed. So good to see from him, and I thought his overall performance was pretty solid, and hopefully keeps himself fit. Again, that's been his one big issue that I've had with him, is just he does not seem to stay fit very often. So I'm hoping, he's been out for quite a while. Clearly they've been taking a look at him. They've been slowly integrating him back in. I'm hoping this is don't rush him into it. Don't push him back into the team and, start him in the next match or anything, but give him some cameo appearances. Let's see how he is over the summer, keep looking at him, and hopefully we go into next season and we still have him available, because if he is full fitness and if he's playing to his best, I think he's easily one of the best right backs in the world. It's just he's not fit enough or playing at 100% enough to justify that at the moment. So all in all, good win. It's a frustrating performance, but we needed to win, keep us close to the Europa spots. They were talking about it today. So 5th is Europa League, 6th is Conference League for sure. I think that's all we know for now until we see who wins the FA Cup, because if Man U wins it, then they get a Europa League spot. But if they don't, then it would be 5th and 6th in the Europa League, and then 7th gets Conference League. So obviously would prefer to be in 6th. It would have been nice, if Burnley had stepped up today instead of absolutely crumbling and, flailing like a bunch of little whiny babies at the end of the game against Tottenham. But I mean, ultimately, when Tottenham were facing both Burnley and Sheffield, there was a good chance they were at least going to pick up 4 points from those matches, which is all they needed to make sure they stayed in 5th, at least to stay ahead of us at 5th. I don't know if Newcastle could possibly still catch them at this point, but yeah, 6th is a lot more likely. Man U and Newcastle play each other next, so we got to hope for a draw there. I mean, we've set ourselves up in a good position. We played well at the end of the game here. We've got some momentum. We were getting some of our starters back, some of our first teamers back. So we've got 2 not really difficult matches. Brighton and Bournemouth both of them are solid teams. Brighton have finally started to find a bit of form here at the end of the season. Bournemouth, obviously the Arsenal game, it kind of looked like they were on break. And then even today against Brentford, I didn't watch the match, but pretty sure they lost at home against Brentford. So it does sort of feel like that one should be maybe a bit of a pushover based on their current run of form. The Brighton match might be a little bit more difficult, but I think those are 2 winnable games. So get the job done in those 2, knock them out, and then let the cards fall where they may. Let's see what happens with Newcastle. Let's see what happens with Tottenham. Again, I'm assuming Tottenham are probably going to beat Sheffield, probably won't beat Man City. Newcastle, we don't know what type of Man U team is going to show up against them. So there's a chance they might drop points there, but maybe not. And then I don't remember who they have on the last day, but I'm pretty sure it's not like a super difficult team. I don't know. I don't remember who they face now. I think it's somebody mid-table, though. That's it for me, though. As the lawnmower guy comes back across my window again, I'm pretty sure he is going right under my window, too. So that's fun. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next game. Till then, hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.